Hello again.
Hello.
I'm in the Mosel now and visiting our first Mosel producers at the Cool Wine Summit 2026. And it's
the first Mosel. Oh.
You are the first from the Mosel, actually. Yes. So now I have to make sure that I put it up in the right order, at least.
Right.
So you really are the first from the Mosel.
Nice.
But yeah, Daniel, it's a big pleasure to be here finally, because you have been in Copenhagen many times.
Yes.
And I attended your tastings, and you were at the Cool Wine Summit, and so on and so forth. You even stayed at my apartment once.
That's true.
Very lovely.
And I swam in the harbor, so that was also very nice. So.
In Copenhagen, I mean,
Copenhagen, yeah.
Definitely something you have to do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But now I made it to Enkircher, where we are right now. So we are in the Middle Mosel, and we are very close to Traben-Trabach. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are basically in a very, very lovely spot for great Riesling, and also for Riesling with residual sugar, which we definitely will experience from you at the Cool Wine Summit. But let's start before we dive too much into the technicalities. I mean, we have these open-ended questions that I would like to ask you. And the first one for you is, if you would not be a winemaker today, what would be the alternative career path that you would have chosen?
I would probably sit in an office and work in the purchasing department. That's what I did before I became a winemaker. So I was working in for BMW, and for some years, and then at one point I decided to take over the business from my dad. So that was in 2009 actually, and since then I did my apprenticeship, I did my studies, and in 2012 I took over the complete business from my parents, and then that's how I ended up here. So. The office job was, to be said, it was very, very nice. The people were nice, good money, but it was never a job which was somehow satisfying in a way. In the evening we went out, went home, and then it was so what the question was, which was bothering me a lot, was, so what did you do today? And it was nothing like I could say, so I did this and this and this and this today. I was on the phone with people and arguing about stuff, and that was not a thing. My idea was, which I want to do for the next 30 years. So at one point I decided to do something else. So that was the point when my dad came along and said, hey, I want to retire at one point. Maybe you want to take over the business, and So.
And now this story, I mean, I love it so much by heart, because I mean, you tell it so easily, but also the estate dates back to 1425.
Yes.
So you are in which generation?
17.
17. Okay. So there was also a little bit of pressure.
It is, and this year it's 600 years. So that's since then the family is making wine since 600 years. So that's the thing. Yeah. So
that's beautiful. That might lead to our next question. If you think about your development as a winemaker, who is a person that truly inspired your style of wine and how you think about winemaking today? If you should point to one person.
Okay, that's definitely my dad, probably my grandfather, but he's not around anymore. But my dad. So my dad, he's a very, very focused winemaker. He was for always, as the first time I can imagine him as a winemaker, not as just as a dad. So he was very focused. He was always he was not anxious about anything. So he was always very, very relaxed. But making wine is you build your life around the theme of wine, and that's something which is so interesting to do, because it's not just a job. It's more than this. So it's a lifestyle basically, and this is something which strikes me most about these things. How could you do this? So my dad, he had to take over the business when he was 16 years old, because my grandfather, he had a stroke in his head, so he had to take over the business. And so my dad, he's 82, and in his generation was like, hey, do you want to take over the business? Is it like in German you say, hast du Bock da drauf? So, but it's not like this. So it's you're the only son, and so you have to take over the business.
Yeah.
And we just had to talk the other some days ago, and it just because if you have a look behind on your life, and they say, was it a good decision to take over the business? I mean, he had so much decision, but not so much choices. And he just said immediately replied, yes, that was the best decision that could ever happen to me. And that's something. I mean, that's so great if you can say something about your life, the decisions that you take or made was the best thing to do, and you don't regret anything. So it's just the way it is.
It goes back to that we spend a lot of our lifetime working, right?
Yeah,
if you spend a lot of your lifetime working, then you should work on something that really passionates you or makes you passionate about it and drives you.
It drives you, and something. I mean, like you said, so you spend a lot of hours, you spend a lot of energy, mentality on that, and you should do something which you enjoy, right? So, and if you do a job just for things like money is like nice to have. If you don't have money, that's not very, very cool. We all need money, right? But a job like this is more than just money, and it's you spend so much hours in the rain, in the hot sun, or in the cold cellar or somewhere, and or you sit in front of the computer and do some stupid documentation stuff, whatever. But if you're passionate about this, then it doesn't feel like work. So it's something you have to do in order to fulfill something, in order to make like wine. So, and that's really that's so great about this job. So, and this is something my dad has, and I hope I have, and I can say when I'm old, say, yeah, that's the best decision I ever did. So.
I would like to say definitely, like from the times meeting you, that you definitely are a very, very passionate winemaker and very passionate talking about how much you love what you do, which I really is an energy that it's like really affecting me positively every time I meet you. But maybe like bridging to the next question then, because then maybe you can think about what this energy reflects, so to say, because the question is the following: if you would be a bottle of wine, what bottle of wine would describe you and your personality?
Well, it's definitely the bottle of Riesling wine. So this is something I like about Riesling. Is Riesling is, or that's how I like it to be. It's like really minerality, really, really pure. That's you can taste the rocks, you can taste the nature in Riesling. And that's something which is I describe. I would see myself as well. So I like to be, to be focused on things, to be clear-minded, and to have and to be focused. So that's my main thing. So and that I think a bottle of Riesling that would describe myself as the best thing to have. Yeah?
That's a lovely description. Dry or with residual sugar?
Dry.
Dry. Okay.
Bone dry.
Bone dry. As a German humor usually is, right? But on a side note. Last of the introduction questions. If we talk about nature, what comes to your mind when it comes to your work in the vineyard, your approach to working with wines, etc.?
So when you work with a vineyard, so I mean, I told you some of the vineyards I have are over 100 years. Also, some of the plants in there are over 100 years old, but the vineyards itself are maybe for thousands of years in cultivation. And if you work with nature, and if you work with very old plants, if you work with, if you see the stones, I mean, sometimes you look at them and then you see, oh, these stones I have right now here are maybe 500 million years old or even older. And then it teaches you Demut. What's Demut in?
Humbleness, right?
Humbleness.
Yeah.
So, and that's something which nature teaches you. with working like this. So it teaches you humbleness, and that's something which is so. I think many jobs nowadays don't have these things. Again, we're talking about jobs, but it's you have to be demütig, so humble, in order to make a good job in the end. So yeah.
I think it doesn't stop with nature like this perspective, because we're very nice when we were behind your Vinothek here in some of your vineyards. You were telling me that there's the Roman road that is like going right through your vineyard. And I mean, many know that Mosel winemaking goes back to Roman times, right? We have very early on in history at Plinius the Elder, for example, already reference to Elbling. And then later on in Marc Aurel, we have references to the Mosel wines. And you said yourself that you find a lot of relics. Sometimes you find like old Roman coins just in the vineyards, right? And it was very, very lovely how you told me like this realization that you then have that like 1,500 years ago, somebody walked through here and lost a coin. Right?
Maybe just dropped it for whatever reason, but maybe to come back. but yeah, that's yeah.
It's a beautiful perspective. Shall we dive into one of your wines, which I have to admit I'm definitely personally very, very keen on it, the sparkling that you have for us.
Sparkling. So we have here our Brut Nature Zero Dosage. It's 100% Riesling. It's 100% vineyard site. It's called from a vineyard called Monteneubel. Monteneubel is so after the Romans we had like many countries used to settle here, and the Mosel used to be French, then it used to be German again, and over the hundreds of years it's it goes like this and this back and forth. And so Monteneubel is a new mountain, the new vineyard. So, and it's to be considered one of the oldest vineyard sites in Enkircher. And it's completely red slate. It's not so hot as the other vineyards are. It's also south facing, but as side vineyard, Seitental. And this is I consider it to be the best vineyard site to make sparkling, or especially the base wine for the sparkling. And so that sparkling wine is so special for me because that's something my dad started 40 years ago. So he was one of the first here in this region who started to produce their own sparkling wines again, like with a traditional bottle fermentation, like they do in Champagne area. And so with all our quality sign, so our sparkling wines are minimum 36 months on the lease. So especially this one here is now 45 months.
45 months, okay.
45 months, and so it's hand riddled, hand disgorged, and this is Brut Nature, so it's bone dry. It has 0.9 grams of sugar. So and this is something also when you talk with people outside from the Mosel, people would mostly say, well, the Mosel, they can make nice sweet wines, maybe nice finer wines, but they can't make any dries. So I mean, this is bone dry, so that's
and that's basically changing these days. Well, let's have a taste if you like.
Sure.
I think it's definitely changing because I just talked like the other week at ProWein. I had a small podcast interview with Ansgar Schmitz, who is the chairman of the Mosel Weinverein, right, your regional marketing association, and he was also telling me that all trends really show in two directions. It's getting first and foremost drier. Also not the weather, but the wine style. So the Mosel produces more and more dry-styled Rieslings. And the second one is that sparkling is really developing strongly. I think he pointed to a figure like 25% of production is now sparkling from the Mosel.
Possible,
I have to check that, but I think if I remember correctly, that is what he said. And it's really like getting exciting, in my opinion. That, that's a bit of...
It's giving. It's giving.
It's talking to us. I like that.
That's over.
Beautiful.
Sometimes making wine is just a mess, so that's... There you go.
It's a beautiful color.
Yeah.
So we can see definitely that it was some fairly ripe grape material, I assume. You say now like you got the grapes from a probably cooler vineyard side,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, also it's getting warmer here, right? You
Yeah.
might feel that also in the aromatics. But then also, of course, with 44 months on the lease, I mean, this also like adds a little bit to this very, very intense color perspective here, right? Very nice maturity. I mean, far away from peach or apricot, right? It's really nice apple, really nice pear dimension, maybe a hint of quince to me.
And like I said, it's bone dry and it doesn't hurt. You know what? That's what I mean. So it doesn't hurt. So
I totally know what you mean, because I have the debate a lot, like with people like that. I'm personally not so much into Brut any longer, because often it's a little bit too sweet for me, given the lower and lower acidity levels that we get in many German regions. And here it's really, I feel it's Brut Nature, but also it's in a very, very nice balance, so to say, right? And it really comes out nicely with the food profile. The lees very nicely integrated. I mean, you of course definitely get there is some good lees contact, right? But it's not like for 44 months, it's not like in your face like sometimes you have it with the champagne wines, where I think, okay, it's maybe a little bit over dominating, so to say, right?
And it's really fresh and crispy. So this is, I mean, the Mosel Rieslings are always fresh and crispy and not too oxidative, more reductive in style. And this is something with the sparkling wines also very comes out very nice, very easily. So, and also acidity and the sugar is very nice balance. So that's
it's fun in a bottle, so to say, right? Just uncomplicated and very delightful, but precise. I mean, and this is really what I like about when you said earlier that you would describe yourself as a bottle of Riesling, because this is really what I have with your wines very often. Really precise style, and also like here the acidity is really strikingly sharp in a very, very positive sense, right? It's really, really beautiful. So how much sparkling do you make at the moment?
I would say, so I mean, I have a very small wine estate, so it's
3.5 hectares, right?
So it's only 3.5 hectares.
And you do it all by yourself?
And do everything by myself. I don't have any employees, so I mean, I have help for the harvest. I have help for the harvest, for example, and maybe for bottling we have people to help. But in the end, it's I do everything by myself, and and sparkling is right now it's 8,000 bottles per year. So which is for a small wine estate like this, it's a good number, so I would say, and but this is due to the fact we are very long in this sparkling wine business, and we're also exporting to Denmark, to Brazil, to America. So these are our markets, but also within Germany. So sparkling is getting more and more and more. So people love well-made sparkling wines, and they can. I mean, you can taste the quality, you can feel, you can just buy the good quality wine bottle or so, and of sparkling wine, and that's what people really appreciate. So they know that there's so much handwork in a bottle like this. There, I mean, even I do the corking, I do the riddling, I do everything. So that's I do. My dad did the labeling. So to be fair, but so everything is every bottle got touched by several dozen times till it's here. So, and that's what people enjoy. So they love a very nice handmade product.
And since really something that like we talked about, like since I came here like a couple of hours ago, we were in the vineyard. We talk about how you are in the vineyard, how you work the grapes and the wines, how much time, effort, dedication this takes. Then you are in the cellar. You are there in the cold. You are there when the cellar is flooded, you told me, which happens here regularly. Standing there in your neoprene wetsuit, right, up to your knees, like making sure that nothing goes wrong when the water is getting higher and higher. You are there labeling, you are there bottling, you are taking care of the wines, you drive out and do deliveries, you come to Copenhagen, do tastings. So it's kind of fascinating, right, to see so much like dedication of one person, but also if you think about the future, I mean, now you have 2 daughters, at the moment. What is your wish for the future? I mean, you want them to take over this kind of work, or do you think, for example, actually, do you think it's worth all the effort, what you're doing, and to carry that over in the next generations? Because we talked also like a little bit about that the whole industry is a little bit in a crisis, and the area is decreasing, and the alcohol consumption is decreasing. So what's your take on that?
So I mean, it would be great when my kids would consider it to be a winemaker. So I mean, you said before, maybe it's easier if you have a boy and he takes over. But I mean, nowadays, and this is something which I really like about this, is nowadays it doesn't matter if you're like female or male or whatever. So you have to be passionate about what you're doing. So no matter what sex you are. And so if my daughters would decide at one point, we want to take over, or I want to take over, that would be really, really great. But I will not force them. So that's something they have to decide on their own. Because if you force someone to do something, this someone will probably do it for whatever, but he will not complete this whole life with this job, because it's you have to be I can repeat myself every time. So you have to be passionate about what you're doing, because you spend so much time on this job, and if you're not passionate, you will not succeed with this job. You will die. You will be unsatisfied. You will be depression probably, and you will be not happy with this job if you're not passionate about this.
And poor probably, because you could make much more money probably working in the industry.
It's true. But I mean, so my oldest daughter, she's 9, and she said sometimes when we have wine tastings here, so with up to 50 people. So and she comes sometimes she comes in and she helps me. So I'm not just helping like pouring, but also like talking. And this is something which is really interesting for me, because she's 9 years old and she's standing in a crowd of people and saying, so, and this is the wine my dad makes, and he makes like this and this and this way, and I really hope you enjoy the wine. And it's like, and everybody's like cheering.
no pressure.
And she's and I didn't force her, so that she asked myself, so can I say something about the wine? Sure, go for it. So and everybody is like cheering, and it's like wow, and she's 9 years old, and so that's very cool. And they're really open-minded. So I mean, over the time, many people from many different countries come here to this place. So we have people from South Korea, from Denmark, from Sweden, from Norway, from or whatever, America, and this is what I see with my kids. So they're really open-minded with people with other people from foreign countries. Ideally, my daughter already learned some words of English in school, so she can say her name and my name is whatever. And and this is something so they can get in contact also with foreign people. And I think that's for her own personality or for her social life. That's something they learn now, and they have for the rest of life, even though they're not continuing with the job, but they are so open-minded.
But being open-minded, being in touch with people, right? I mean, this is really something that this industry is also about and contributes.
You've met her, so I mean, she came in here and she talked to you instantly. So.
And wanted to be with us in the vineyard and look around and exactly. And I mean, I think this is kind of cool to see it and see also like the development of your own children in this kind of context, right? I mean, while you pour us the next wine, maybe a little bit about where people can meet you. I mean, for example, not only in Copenhagen, it's a Cool Climate Wine Summit 2026 again, and hopefully many other occasions. But for example, like Immich Mosel is also a festival that you participate every year in actually.
Every year, This year I will be in Windrich.
In Windrich.
With Weingut Quint.
Okay.
And Mythos Mosel, you should come. I don't know if the audience knows about it, but
I think we should quickly introduce it because I think it's very important to talk to people about it. I mean, it's this big Mosel wine festival that happens the weekend after Whit Monday. Is it like after Pfingsten?
After Pfingsten,
exactly.
Yes, exactly. And it's every year, but it's every year on a different location, different parts of the Mosel. And so we have wine estates. So I would say the hosts. So and the hosts have also guest wine estates. So and everybody is pouring their wine. You can buy a ticket for Saturday and Sunday, and it will be like there's also a bus ticket included, bus transfer is included.
There's some shuttles going between these towns, right? Yeah.
And so you can drink and you don't have to drive. So very important. And you can taste within this particular weekend up to 600 Rieslings.
This is definitely, like, for me, a reason to be at Mythos Mosel, but I hope also for many other people. We link it definitely in the show notes, both on YouTube and on Spotify, and have a look at Mythos Mosel. It's an amazing festival. Want to introduce a second wine to us, the Eisbruch?
Eisbruch, so it's 23 Eisbruch. So Eisbruch is a monopole site which belongs to our family since several hundred years.
And maybe the English translation quickly, ice break.
Ice break,
right?
icefall maybe.
Icefall maybe.
The reason for this name of this vineyard is this vineyard is directly located where the Mosel is. And when the Mosel is frozen, which happens because of the climate change every, 15, 20 years, whatever. So, and then the ice from the Mosel breaks at that point where the vineyard is. That's why the people call it the ice break vineyard. So that's the reason for this name. And it's literally, it's like the steepest vineyard I have. So it's southwest facing, blue slate only. Lots of rocks in there. So I own mainly rocks. So and some plants on it.
Sounds like a good investment to me.
Well, but to be fair, it's like this is how I imagine my classical Mosel Riesling. So the sugar content in the juice is not so high. So on this, even though it's getting very hot over the day in this particular place, but this is how I imagine like a very typical Mosel Riesling. So you can taste the rocks, so you can taste the minerality, you can taste the steepness, you can taste everything. So and that's my personal favorite vineyard. So
Based on that, I think it's kind of interesting how you said it's blue slate. I think that is totally apparent in the nose actually. The first impression that hit me also, like maybe because of the ice connotation, is these ice pastels. These really refreshing blue. However, how the brand is called. If I find it, I'll link it in the show notes too, because it's really this kind really of refreshing and if you give it a color, it's blue, definitely, really fresh ocean blue, so to say. But also of course, like this maturity of the fruit, as you said, it's a fairly warm wine side, right? But also like immediately you get structure, you get acidity in the nose, which I find very, very appealing. And it has a little bit of this touch of, you imagine it a bit sweet, maybe a tiny bit like with an edge, but then you get it in the mouth, I guess. And there's not so much left of that.
No.
It's just like spicy and herbal and mineral and a bit oily.
It's nice with food, nice without food. You sit outside, in a very warm weather, you want to enjoy a very nice chilled bottle of wine, and it's getting complex over the years. So this wine is still too young. So it needs more than another 1 or maybe 2 or 3 years to develop. But it's nice to have it right now. So that's I like it.
Absolutely beautiful. To round it off a bit, we didn't talk so much about global warming. You can give me maybe your quick take on what it means for you, and then maybe round it off with your 5 years perspective, where you are from now in 5 years.
So global warming is definitely affecting us. So I mean, the weather extremes are getting more extremes. So today it's too warm, tomorrow it's too wet. You know, there's dryness. So that's the thing. But if last year it was too wet, so I think we had last year one of the wettest years since, I don't know, 50 years or so. So the extremes are getting more and more and more. We had last year also, we had hail, we had frost within 1 week. So it's also very unnatural to be said, like to take this term. But I mean, in the end, it's like you have to adopt on these things. You have to be flexible, adopt on the new situation. So, for example, it's I did very good experience with. We talked about this. With Begrünung, so greening.
Yeah, greening between the rows, yeah.
Because we have also problems with erosions, obviously, when you have floods. Nowadays we have Starkregen, so you know, many
events,
heavy rains within a few minutes, like many liters.
And when the soil is erodes already, it's damaging the soil further, it's damaging the grapes, it's damaging the leaves.
And I had very good experience over the years now with this greening stuff. When it comes to a year when it's very dry, then it's, you know, having a green greening, then it's maybe not a good choice, but because it consumes water. So then I have to, you know, cut down the greening, then it's good again. But like I said, so you have to be flexible every year. So I would say, when my dad was making wine, in his time of, you know, it was easier to make wine because, I mean, they had also problems, but you could put it on your head and say, I want to do this and this and this, and you could do probably this for, I don't know, 10 to 30, 40, whatever years. But nowadays it's like you have to be more, you know, you have to be
adaptable, so to say. Right? Every year is a new situation. Or
every year is different. So
every season is a new situation because you don't know what happens.
So in German you say Schema F. So it's not possible to do a Schema F. So the typical is every year thing. So you have to, you know, like you said. So
that's kind of interesting because I just attended a sustainability conference organized by Ecovine and Bioland and Demeter in Heilbronn. It was kind of interesting because there was a guy who works for an insurance company or an insurance platform, and he was basically coming with a statement for like many decades, like nature was the given constant for farmers, right? We had patterns that we relied on, and all our models, all our calculations based on, we get certain resources for free from nature in consistent intervals. And this whole equation is changing drastically, significantly, which makes a big problem for farmers these days, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, now if you have we have insurances and you know, to protect yourself, to protect your investment, right? I mean, I don't like this term, but it's like in the end, it's just like this, and you have to keep this thing running. But this is only one point. You have to protect your investment, but also you have to protect your vineyards. You have to protect your plants. You have to, for example, nowadays it's not possible, in my opinion, to raise to make a new vineyard without irrigation system. It's not possible. It might work like last year, maybe the year before. This year, I don't know, because it's already too dry in the Mosel. So we have January and February and March was already too dry for this region. So there was, I think, the minus of per hectare is, I think, 100 per square meter is like over 100 liters is missing of water. So which is a lot. If you imagine we have 800 liters per year and already 100 liters is missing, so it's like 1/8 is missing. So it's too dry. So if I would plant a new vineyard right now, so irrigation system is the way to have.
They wouldn't have a chance.
No, they wouldn't have a chance, right? So.
5 years from now, where are you? Where's the winery?
I hope to be still healthy, young and healthy. Have my brain. So that's Well, I had to be fair. It's like the wine estate itself is. I don't want to grow. So this is something, sometimes when you talk to winemakers, they say, "Oh, it's working so good, so I could have more vineyards and more vineyards." This is not an aim I have. So I like it to be the way it is right now. So with my 3.5 hectares, that's nice to do by myself, and it's also like a work I can do by myself. So even further than that, like let's say if I would have like 4 hectares, maybe 5 hectares, I have to employ people at one point, and which would be difficult. So, but I still hope to make in 5 years maybe better wine than I do right now. So I hope to develop myself and my way of winemaking. So this is why we look at what other winemakers are doing, and so you talk with lots of other people how do it like this and this and this. So I'm just 45 years old, so I'm not finished yet. So and
hopefully not.
Hopefully not. So I try to develop by myself. So that's the thing for sure. And and from 5 years from now, so maybe my daughters already, try to be more part of this thing here. So
I mean, at 14, I think some people like made their first vintage, right?
Maybe.
Cheers on that.
Yeah,
Lovely
definitely.
answer. And see you in Copenhagen in January 2026
Definitely.
at the Cool Climate Wine Summit.
Drink more Riesling.
Drink more Riesling.